guys, it takes me eternity to record this introduction session for my video. I don't know why, it's just very difficult to speak today. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something really exciting. We're going to try a new art material together. I'm holding in my hands Paul Rubens oil pastel set. I have 72 colors set and I'm super excited about this in the first place because I'm new to oil pastel and I don't know, I think at least it should be fun. I hope so. Well, in today's video I'm going to unpack it in the first place. That's going to be the most satisfying part of the video, I guess. And then I will make swatches of all the colors I have in my set, and I'm also going to make several color mixing, gradient mixing studies. I hope so much these exercises will help me to understand the material a little bit better because I'm a beginner in oil pastel. After that, I think I will be able to create several sketches and drawings using only this material. And I also hope so much that today's tasting session will help me to understand how I can implement this material into my everyday creative routine, into my sketches. Maybe I will try to mix it with tempera, my favorite paint at this point. And yeah, I think that it can be pretty interesting mix. Anyway, I'm sure it's going to be an interesting video, so stay tuned and let's get started. Let's unpack this baby first. An important note, it is not a sponsored video. Lovely guys from Paul Rubens sent me the set to test and share my honest opinion, and yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. The pastel arrived in a pretty box with a brochure showing color selection for all different sets in the series. I have the largest one. I also have a swatching sheet here and I appreciate it a lot because I like to make swatches. We will use it a bit later. And ta-da! Here is the pastel itself. First of all, it looks very cute. When I opened the box, the first thing that I noticed that there is a very beautiful and wide selection of blue colors. They all are very beautiful. The selection of reds is great too, but honestly, since I'm a big fan of botanical drawings, greens disappointed me a little bit, and I think I will come back to this point a bit later. I also love how this bullet shape looks, and partly at the very beginning it helps with the application, it makes it a little bit more precise, but taking into account how soft this material is, I believe it mostly affects the aesthetic side of the product. I truly believe swatching is an essential step when you try a material or a brand for the first time. It's the best way to get to know this material better, to meet it properly, and to understand real colors, and especially it is relevant for markers or paint when it comes in tubes, for example. If we talk about pastels, yeah, the colors that you see in the box, they are mostly the same on paper when you apply them. Secondly, it helps to understand the texture, which is more important for oil pastels, I believe. I mean, it seems like oil pastel is about texture in the first place, you know, the way it can cover paper, the level of pigmentation, etc., etc. Well, at first try, I can say that it has very creamy, very nice and very smooth texture, and it has a lot of color pigment in it. I'm sure it will work well in different color mixing techniques, and we will try it, of course, but a bit later.
This video is sponsored by my Patreon. Here are some things you can find there. Color exploration posts for your inspiration, tutorials, my textured brush set for Procreate, long process videos, digital art prints, exclusive sketches, and more. I would be happy to see you in my tiny creative community. There's no pressure, of course. Thank you so much for your attention, and now let's get back to the video. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm not a super experienced oil pastel user. I tried it one time about 4 years ago, and back then I decided it is not my material, like at all. As far as I can remember, it was Van Gogh pastel, not super expensive, probably from a more budget series. The feeling I remember pretty clearly. It was very oily and not very pigmented, and it was very difficult to apply it. It seems to me this Paul Rubens pastel is much softer, and I like it a lot. While talking about all these things, I just thought, imagine you're a greatest artist of all times. Would you like an art supplies brand be named after you? I mean, yeah, it sounds kind of cool. It's great. You're a greatest artist, and now your name is on every box of, I don't know, pastel, etc. But now people can say, I don't like Van Gogh, or I don't know, Van Gogh got my hands dirty, or because of Paul Rubens, I have to throw away my pants now. Oh my god, it sounds creepy. Well, if one day I become a legend, like legendary artist of all the times, please don't name an art supplies brand after me, please. By the way, while swatching, I noticed that some of the sticks were too oily, and you can also notice that I got my hands dirty already, and that is one of the things I don't like about this material in general. Yes, I suppose I'm one of the artists who doesn't find this dirty hands aesthetic cool. I don't like it. I decided to try different gradient mixing techniques. At first, I decided to try to smudge it with my fingers, and I didn't like it. Guess why? Secondly, I tried to do it using pastel only, and I loved the result better, but these are two completely different techniques and they have different results, and I think that depending on the situation, I will use both of them. By the way, it is a good idea to keep a lot of paper towels or napkins next to you because of the dirty hands, yes. But secondly, you need to wipe off a color you just used to prevent other unwanted colors mixing into your drawing. I also tried to create gradients using a paper towel instead of my finger, and honestly I loved this way much better. A cotton bud didn't work well, and it will be hard to explain it because the result was okay, but I didn't like it because of the feeling. Was a very unpleasant feeling. It is something similar to the feeling of when you slowly scratching ceramic surface with a metal fork, and you have this feeling and you have this sound. Well, it is not the same, but the feeling in general is the same. Now let's draw some tiny thumbnails using different techniques. Right off the bat, I want to say that oil pastel is not about precision, and you need to be ready. You will not be able to add tiny and precise details to your drawing unless you're working on a super large format. I was ready for this, especially taking into account I started with the tiny thumbnail drawings, and yeah, as I mentioned before, the larger drawing you work on, the easier it will be to work with details. after testing different techniques on the thumbnails, I realized one thing. It is a good idea to apply first layer of pastel, smudged it, and apply more details over. I'm sure I'm not the one who invented this technique. I'm sure it exists, but I wanted it to be my personal material exploration. So I decided not to watch any detailed tutorials in advance before tasting this material. I created a rough sketch in advance and decided to stick to this two-faced technique. Yeah, this is the name of my technique. I probably should copyright it. So now let's see where my super innovative technique will bring me. I started with a dark brownish background, mixing two colors. By the way, from time to time I found it easier to use the flat side of a stick to have a bit more precision. As I mentioned before, this bullet shape, it looks great, it is nice to work with, but sometimes a flat side can work better. While working on this piece, I also realized I don't like the white dots, white gaps bleeding through my pastel. That is what smudging can help with too. While smudging, it is important to make sure you use clean fingers or a clean piece of paper towel. Otherwise, again, you can mix in some unwanted colors into your drawing, and yeah, it can be pretty frustrating. When the first base layer was ready, I started adding details over it. Honestly, the process felt a bit stressful at the beginning. First of all, because it is a new material and I'm not very confident in using it. Secondly, when you try to film something, it kinda adds up to your stress. But with adding more and more details, I started enjoying this further layering, and the texture is amazing. I love it so much. For the next drawing, I decided to use a bit larger format. It is A4. I decided to use approximately the same copyrighted two-faced technique, and the process didn't go as smooth as I expected, and unfortunately Well, yeah, it was okay, but it wasn't that enjoyable, I guess. I got very inspired by the selection of various blue colors in this set, and honestly, I wanted to try them all. I just wanted to use as many as I can. Speaking of the color selection, we will come back a little bit to green colors. Do you remember I mentioned that I found the selection of green colors is not so satisfying, and that is why. Look at these four colors. Yeah, they're not identical, but they are very, very similar. I think it would be better to have a bit richer variety. What do you think? Well, for some reason my second drawing process didn't go that smooth, and I can't understand why. Maybe I was hungry, maybe it wasn't my day, I don't know. All the time I felt like the material is not in the same team with me, you know? All the details, all the pastel strokes I wanted to make, they didn't look the way I wanted. It seems to me oil pastel is one of the materials where you have less control compared to paint, markers, pencils, etc. You probably can't expect it to be your best body all the times, but the feeling of using it is very special, and partially I loved it so much. I think maybe I should watch some tutorials on how to use it in a more precise way, and of course I need to practice more. But what I can say for sure is that it was a nice experience of getting out of my comfort zone. Despite the fact sometimes I was struggling, in the end I enjoyed it a lot. I think I can recommend this oil pastel to you, especially if you're a beginner. I think you may like it a lot. It's pretty cheap, which is a great advantage compared to super professional brands. By the way, you can find Amazon links in the description. So, if you want to try this material, I believe it is a good option, very good one. By the end of this video, I have an important question to experienced oil pastel users. Please help me with your advice. How on earth you keep your space around you and your hands clean while working with it? Or it is not possible. Just look at this mess. I stained everything around my table, my drawing, my hands of course. I mean, I try to wipe off my hands constantly. I try to keep them clean, and yeah, it just didn't help. Well, that's what I came up with today. Despite some details and some struggles, I enjoyed working with this pastel a lot, and I think I will definitely experiment with it and I will use it in the future. Honestly, I love my first drawing in the sketchbook more compared to the second one. I think, this sketchbook drawing turned out so good. Please let me know in the comments which one you like most. I would be happy to know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was a bit helpful and interesting. Don't forget to like, to subscribe if you haven't, and of course, special thanks to my wonderful patrons. See you in the next video. Bye bye.